There's something not quite right about modern Britain. Not just the potholes, the grey skies, the endless empty shop fronts and broken down city centres. It's something deeper than that. A kind of sadness. I think we've always had it. It's there in the poems of Wordsworth, the novels of Hardy and the gloom of Keats. In the 80s, it found its rhythm in Joy Division, The Smiths. But when I was a kid in the 90s, we didn't have that all-consuming sadness. Actually, the country had a kind of optimism. Cool Britannia was in full swing. Oasis, Blur, even the Spice Girls. It wasn't perfect, but it meant something. TV and film was brilliant. The jokes were clever.
How are you feeling, darling?
We were able to laugh at ourselves, but also took pride.
So we are, in fact, going over.
Last week, buried between a couple of spam newsletters and a reminder from Specsavers, there it was. An email from the BBC. Have your say, it said. The next couple of years will decide the future of the BBC, it said. What do you want us to offer? What do we do well? What could we do better? This might just be a bit of normal feedback collection. But to me, it feels like it's more than just a normal corporate email. This feels like a bit of a cry for help. Like a once proud institution realising that it no longer knows who it's for. Nothing illustrates this more plainly than the current performance of Doctor Who. Doctor Who isn't just a sci-fi series. It's a British institution. Since 1963, it's been the symbol of imagination, eccentricity, and moral courage, and one of the few pieces of programming that once truly united the family around the TV, or at least behind the sofa. The second episode of the latest series, titled Lux, garnered just 1.58 million overnight viewers. That's the lowest in the show's 60-year history.
Yes, Queen!
I mean, the show's viewership has been in consistent decline for years now. It's going to be cancelled, and you can see why. It's terrible. And this, sadly, isn't just about Doctor Who. It's emblematic of the entire BBC. So when the BBC reaches out, asking what it should be, out of curiosity, maybe even out of pity, I clicked on the survey. Our BBC, our future. Please tell us what you, your family watch, listen to, or use. Now, this is impossible for me to answer correctly because I don't watch the BBC anymore. But, okay, which of the following do you, your family watch, listen to, or use? So I watch a bit of the news, a bit of drama, documentaries, definitely, sport, music, programmes and content for you about your part of the UK. See, this is something that the BBC always seem to push, that they are adamant that people want to see themselves reflected. Well, I think that's probably true if it was a truthful representation of what's going on. I don't think the BBC are prepared to do that. Please tell us what you want from the BBC. Well, in the future, should the BBC offer more, less, or the same amount of the following news? The BBC should offer more, less, the same. The BBC is a propaganda tool, so I would love to see them give more open, honest, unbiased reporting. So if you were going to ask me that, I would say I want to see more. I don't watch BBC News because it's bloody horrible. So I'm going to say less. Drama, Line of Duty, Call the Midwife, EastEnders, SAS, Rogue Heroes, which I hear is a great show, but I've never watched. So I would say yes, give me more of that, as long as it is drama for the sake of drama, and we can go into that in another video. Comedy and entertainment. Gavin and Stacey. Well, I didn't watch the recent Gavin and Stacey, but I did back in the day. I used to love it. But having watched some old episodes recently, to me, it's not aged well, but I can understand that people like it. Strictly Come Dancing, I cannot stand. I would say it should offer the same amount as now. General interest, factual programmes and content. Race Across the World, The Apprentice. Well, I don't think these are going to go away because isn't The Apprentice one of their most watched shows? Documentaries, Planet Earth, A House Through Time, Ambulance, Solar System, Radio 4 documentaries. See, I think there's a massive opportunity for the BBC to learn from YouTube and learn from content creators, not me necessarily, but I want to see the BBC do things that matter. I want to see the BBC challenge the narrative, not just go along with it. And so I'm going to say, not just because I'm a documentary filmmaker, but I want to see more. Children's programming and content. Well, they do this okay. Every Christmas, we gather around to watch the Julia Donaldson films, and with the exception of the last one, The Tiddler, they've been brilliant. I didn't like The Tiddler because I don't like the story. I'm trying to figure out what the moral behind the story is. The other ones are so clear and they're so good. And the animation was brilliant this year. The actual look and feel of it and the pacing and everything was brilliant. It's just the story of the Tiddler is just a bit naff. So I would say more, because everyone loves great kids TV. I mean, bring back Banana Man. Amazing. Sport, yes, more. Free sport. Get kids interested in sport by showing them genuine heroes. We need to be able to see football on the TV. It's a British institution. I'm an Argyle fan. We're about to get relegated, most probably. I would love to see Argyle on the BBC. I would love to see more regional football, grassroots football. Put the Sunday League on there. Who cares? I'd probably watch it. Music. Now, I used to be a musician, and my ambition when I was a musician was to be on BBC Introducing. It's, in principle, a great tool. You know, get kids from backgrounds that don't normally get into music and help them start a career. Let's face it, with AI and whatnot, all of these industries are at risk, but music in particular for me seems to be that one that's already disappeared. I don't know if music will be a thing in the future, and that's something that most people on the outside are like, what are you talking about? AI has absolutely destroyed songwriting for me. And modern songwriting is all based off of Ableton and things like that, which are great tools, but because there's, so much at your fingertips, you end up being overwhelmed, and a lot of the time you just sit there going, I don't know what to do. And so I would love them. I'm going to say, yes, I want to see more music, but I want them to do it openly, genuinely, and honestly. I don't care about race, culture, background. Let's get music going again, Let's get venues going again. Let's get everything to do with music, which is probably the most purest form of human expression, which is being absolutely sanitized by computers and robots. And let's just support it moving forward. Anything else that the BBC should offer? No. Section 3. In the future, how important or not is it that the BBC continues to inform, educate and entertain? Extremely important, BBC, as long as you maintain the unbiased statement that you used to have, the unbiased thing. But because, you're not going to do it justice and you're not going to do it in the way and the form that you should, I'm going to say, I don't know, because I don't know if you should. Please tell us how you feel the BBC is doing now. How effective or not do you think the BBC is now at providing a valuable public service for the UK? Extremely ineffective. How effective or not do you think the BBC is now at offering something for everyone? Extremely ineffective. How effective or not do you think the BBC is now at offering high quality digital services? Very ineffective, because the iPlayer app is terrible. It's getting better, to be fair. It used to be a lot worse, but it's still not great. How effective or not do you think the BBC is now at reflecting the lives of people across the UK? Again, I mean, I don't listen to it enough, and I never see TV. I don't watch TV, so I couldn't tell you if it's accurate or not. So I don't know. How effective or not do you think the BBC is now at being independent? For extremely ineffective. Extremely ineffective. How effective or not do you think the BBC is now at being an asset for the UK around the world? I don't know. I don't think that Great Britain has the influence it used to. And I think that might actually be a good thing if we just learn to accept that, but that's a different conversation. In a world where there can be more misleading and false information, we think the BBC should prioritise making content that is accurate and that people can trust. Well, I think it's extremely important, but you're not going to do it. They're just not going to do it. The Verify thing that they've got going on has already been proven several times to be inaccurate. In a world where there can be fewer occasions that connect us, we think the BBC should prioritise bringing people together. In the future, how important do you think it is that the BBC delivers this by prioritising big events, live music, live moments and content? Extremely important. I don't fault them for this completely, because I don't think we have those moments. I suppose the last one was the King's coronation, but you had half the people lined up outside Buckingham Palace saying, "Not my king." So they probably do that quite well, but it's just, like they say, they sum it up completely there. In a world where there can be fewer occasions that connect us, we used to connect on things, didn't we? We used to have big moments. Last section, section 7, anything else? Please tell us anything else important to you or your family that the BBC could offer. I don't know. Be funny, be entertaining, and be more relevant. Is that how you spell relevant? Yeah. I'm not optimistic about the future of the BBC. I used to work for the BBC as a camera operator, a sound recordist, runner, all kinds of stuff. I loved every second of it. I never made any money. I was overworked. And then when COVID came along, they turned their back on me and never employed me again. I think it's a broken and battered institution which could and should stand up for British values and the British people. I don't think it does. I don't think it can anymore. They have had more than their fair share of scandals. Google it. There's a reason why people aren't paying the license fee. There's a reason why people aren't tuning in. And there's a reason why people are switching to things like YouTube. I don't think the BBC really understands that. And so the future looks pretty bleak for them.